Brittany Brave, welcome to season 2 of People in Miami.
I started handing out edibles to people. Thank you. I'm an American hero. Thank you.
Brittany is Miami's funny lady. She won the Miami New Times Best Comedian of 2021. She is an executive producer. She is an actress. She is a very funny lady. And she juggles her time between Miami and New York, performing really funny acts. Brittany, first I want to talk a little bit about how you got into comedy, your childhood. How did everything start?
Also, thank you for the nice intro. I appreciate that. Happy to be here. I started comedy, I joke, but I started comedy through trauma. No, I'm kidding. I started comedy, you know what, the real answer is, I've always loved comedy. I come from a very funny family. I was a weird kid growing up, but especially being a girl, I was always very quirky and weird and had imaginary friends and characters and stuff like that.
One of those.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Like my mom used to say she would buy me like a Barbie playhouse, like a really expensive Christmas gift, and I wouldn't care for the toy, but I would take the box and put it over my head and like run around the house acting out a movie in my head. So like from a very early age, I was weird and quirky and wanted to perform for people. Professionally focusing on it, I started 3 years ago. And I say after trauma because like I was in New York and in a job I hated and in a really bad relationship, and the thing I could turn to was making people laugh and bringing them joy and then bringing myself joy. So that's all. But comedy feels like this thing that's been, it's me. It's been in my family and around me my whole life.
And you're Italian, so I'm guessing, you know, you have a lot of crazy Italians and that type of, that stigma, it's real?
It's very real. Oh yeah, we're insane. Yeah, we love hard, we fight hard. I think also too, Italians have a very like raunchy, I don't give a fuck sense of humor. They're savage, they'll say whatever they want. I know my family does. Like my family cracks jokes at funerals and our family and stuff. But like, because we know that the person would have, if they were here, they'd be laughing at it too, you know? So it was cool to kind of grow up in that environment where like anything goes and you're encouraged to just like speak your mind and call stuff out as long as it's funny and not hurting anybody, obviously, you know? But
how did they feel when you told them that you wanted to be a comedian? Were they always supportive of that career path?
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I have a very supportive family with that. I went down the traditional path of like being a publicist, and I worked in marketing in New York. And, yeah, at record labels, and I was on the other side of it.
Very professional and...
Very professional, very professional. And I knew I should have been doing comedy because I was the person on all the conference calls or in the boardroom that was saying the dick jokes or was like saying the like inappropriate thing. And like corporate was like, you can't say that here. And I was like, oh, it's funny though. Everyone's laughing, you know? So always felt a little out of place being that buttoned up.
Yeah.
And I was doing comedy too. I was doing a lot of improv and sketch, but you know, with a corporate 9 to 5, it's hard.
And this was in New York?
This was in New York, yeah.
Okay.
And this was really hard to juggle it. All that to say that when I did finally have this like come to Jesus moment, I just realized that I was like, I always saw myself as a comedian. I always saw my trajectory as being famous for being funny and bringing joy to people and being in movies and making cool, impactful stuff. Like if I looked at my life years down the line, it was on red carpets, not at a desk behind a computer. So it just took me kind of like
that, epiphany moment.
That.
And how long were you working in the corporate world before realizing that, okay, it was time to make the switch? Because you're doing this full time now, right? Comedy?
Yeah. Well, yes. Full-time focus. Very hard to make substantial money through stand-up comedy. So full-time focus for sure. And, you know, figuring out how to monetize other things.
How long were you working in New York in the corporate world?
So right out of college, I went to University of Florida.
Okay. Studied marketing?
Marketing and theater. I did both. And I started working. I wanted to know what kind of marketing I would want to do or where I should like specialize in. So then that's where like music, because I was like, I love music. It's, you know, another passion of mine. I don't perform it, but I love it. So went down that music industry path, had the job lined up at Columbia Records right after college, and always wanted to just be in New York. I have family up there too, wanted to go up there, loved that city, was obsessed with that city from when I was a little girl. So it was mission, get out of Florida, go to New York right after college. So I would say 2013 to 2020, well, no, 2018, 2019, I was just really doing PR and marketing and working those 9 to 5s. And then I started my own business in 2018, 2019. 2014, right around there, with the intent of like, I'll still do PR to pay my bills, but I would like to do a little bit more comedy. And, you know, then I just started doing comedy. I think I was 6 months into opening the doors on my own PR firm. And I was like...
Opening your own PR firm?
Yeah. I mean, I was a 2-person operation at the time, but I went freelance. I just was like, okay, I have clients, I have people that just want to work with me, and that'll be great. It'll leave me all the time and freedom so that I could do more comedy. Yeah. And then, like, I was 6 months in, and I was like, oh no, actually, I think all I want to do is
comedy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
But still, being like working in PR, I'm sure helps you understand even your job now, because it helps you see things on the flip side.
Oh, girl.
Because you need good PR for yourself. You need marketing. You need all the things that you worked on the back end for. So that helps you.
So much value in an artist that can be really business savvy and build a brand and understand that. I mean, I used to regret not starting stand-up full-time or going for this full-time sooner. And now I'm actually I'm 31. I'm about to be 32. I know I look 14. Someday I'll be grateful for this. Right now it's very frustrating. But I actually really appreciate that I came to this so late in life or later in life, and that I had those years. Like, I used to regret not starting sooner.
You said 2018, 2019, so you were like, how old?
I was,
when you started?
If I'm going to be 32, I was like 27, 28, something like that.
I mean, that's not bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
no, at all. You know, and I know I'm on the earlier side of life, and I have a lot of time ahead of me too, but I was always like, man, if I only would have just started stand-up in college, I would have, and whatever. But I think it all paid off, like, to your point. Like, I use a lot of that knowledge now in my own brand and navigating the business.
And when it comes to money, so you hear all these stories of all these, like, and actors too, struggling actors, comedians sleeping in cars before they hit it big. Yeah. How much comedy do you have to do to really sustain yourself, or how does that work exactly to get paid enough?
Totally. I don't know. When I find out, I'll let you know. No,
still working.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I mean, I've sacrificed like everything. I've sacrificed a lot of stability for comedy. I don't have a car down here. I'm living with my parents in Kendall. I was on my own in New York when I was working in PR because I could afford to be and had my own apartment. And
that's funny, and affording it over there.
Yeah, of all the places.
Of all the places, yeah.
Yeah, because I had a fancy job, and but despite all of that stability, like, I had a better credit score in my early 20s. I had a 401k in my mid 20s. Like, I had, like, on paper my shit together, but I was miserable. I hated what I was doing. Yeah. And somebody had given me that piece of advice, like, you need to be broke and scared for a little while. You need to scrap. You need to, like, it's gonna change the chemistry in your head as a comedian. Like, you're gonna start to be like, oh, I need to be money funny. Like, and they were right. Like, so COVID kind of helped me, like, go off the ledge, close everything down. I'm just gonna really do this, even if it means living with my parents in Kendall and not having a car. But while it sucks in certain ways, and I'm trying to, pivot those things, and I miss those liberties, I see 100% how I had all this time and focus to put on my comedy. And
you're happy and you're doing what you love.
Doing what I love.
And your parents obviously support you.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I think when I, like, came out of the closet and told them I was becoming a comedian, they were like, yeah, we kind of knew this was always going to happen. Like, you've always been a performer. Like, this is not surprising at all.
And expected to struggle at first, and like you said, be able to feel like, okay, you're broke. What are you going to do? Because if you have that cushion and that comfort, like, you're not going to really push yourself as much as you're going to push yourself now, because you kind of have no choice. You have to survive.
100%. You have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And nobody goes pro or makes shit happen by half-assing it. Like, and to me, that felt like half-assing it. And no shade to anybody who still has that or doesn't want to do this professionally. We're all on our own journey. Kumbaya, whatever. But for me, it was like, I do this every day, and I'm sacrificing this stuff, and I'm too, like, this is the way to make it happen. I'm not going to make it happen if I'm also, like, running a PR business. Like, at some point, it's gonna,
Yeah, so something's got to give.
Something's got to give. Yeah, so for me, that's it. And now it's like you can make money through so many things. Like, stand-up doesn't have a lot of money in it, but that ability to be funny.
What is it, like $100 a show, $200 a show?
If it's $100 a show, that's a good show.
It goes lower. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the day-to-day spots are usually anywhere between you're not getting paid or you're getting paid in, like, drink tickets.
What do you mean by day-to-day? Like performing on a Monday, or? Yeah,
like bar shows or smaller independent shows can often be like no money or drink tickets or something like that, or $20. So, as you start to gain a little clout or do better shows, it could be 50, 75, 100. What I really think it is it's figuring out it's two things. Forget just stand-up. You have this ability to be funny and produce funny things and be good on camera and be good in front of people. So even though the dream is making your money through stand-up, you can also MC, you can also copyright, you can also produce. Exactly, like that. And it's also having a fan base.
And another thing that's important, I feel like, to let everyone know is that she's a really, really hard worker. And to this interview, she was very early. She is a responsible comedian, works super hard. You go between Boca and Miami, performing pretty much every day.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, thank you.
For the most part, like, you're definitely grinding, and it's refreshing to see someone who, you know, on stage, you're so funny and you'll have like raunchy jokes, but then on a personal level, you're like, no, I mean business, like you have your shit together and you know what you want.
Thank you.
And it shows. So it's only a matter of time before you are selling out your arenas and doing all of that.
Thank you. We're manifesting.
Giving.
We're manifesting.
It's giving.
It's giving. It's giving. 2023. We out this bitch. No.
Yes.
Kidding. But also Netflix, call me.
And me too.
And her too. Right. We'll do a 2-for-1 deal. Like you could just
please.
Right. Whatever rate for me, we'll split it and we'll figure it out. Yeah. Yes. I love it. Women supporting women. I love it.
So now I want to talk a little bit about comedy itself and how you draw inspiration from that, because you know that a lot of comedy, or so they say, people draw it from like a dark place.
Yeah.
You know, and it's self-deprecating, and you know, you're kind of like making fun of yourself and other important situations. I do know that you are a survivor of domestic violence. So if you can talk a little bit about that time in your life and how you use that in comedy.
Totally. So I started stand-up after I left that relationship, which was a very toxic, super abusive, physically, mentally, financially. 3 years I was with him.
Wow.
Totally lost myself. Wasn't really doing any comedy during that time.
But was it always like that? Or did it start maybe like in year 2?
It started within the first like 3 to 6 months. Tendencies were there, like smaller things and handsiness and shoviness, and you know, he had a drinking and substance abuse problem and that kind of showing up, and you know, you have your goggles on. I love this issue and I love talking about it because I know it's uncomfortable for people, but it has to be talked about. The stigma has to be broken. A lot of people, even sometimes when I talk about it on stage, they're like, "Do you really go through that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah, like, and they're like, wait, like, he, like, hit you? Like, no. And I'm like, no, yeah. Like, it's very, like, and it, like, needs to be talked about, because I think the lack of understanding to it, or people just getting uncomfortable and turning a blind eye, is what keeps it going, is what keeps women silent and afraid, because they feel like if they come out and say something, no one's going to believe me. They're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to, you know, it's going to turn people off. They're going to run away. So, were
you ever scared of him, like, hearing it? Like, hearing that you're talking about it, though?
No, not now, because, I have a restraining order. So, I don't even, you know, I can talk about it and do. I started stand-up because of that. Like, I had always sworn I wouldn't do stand-up, and I was talking about this relationship to my family and friends, and it was so dark and twisted and real and intense, but because I guess I've always had this ability to be funny, they were like crying, laughing, and they were like, "You have to go talk about this."
It's almost like a mix of emotions. Like, why am I laughing?
But like, which is what I hope people get out of my act. They're like, "I'm turned on. I'm scared. I'm learning something. I'm empowered."
What the fuck is this?
What is this? Yeah, like I like that. I like hitting a nerve. You know, that's how I fell into stand up, and then from there, I just found this like freedom in reclaiming everything.
But hold on, how did you, back to the relationship, how were you able to finally get out of it? Because like you said, it's important to talk about it, because a lot of women may find themselves in a similar situation. And one of the common misconceptions and questions is, why did you stay?
Totally, yeah.
But yeah, it's like, it could be fear or lack of confidence, or, you know,
confidence.
So how do you leave it?
Leaving is not easy.
Right.
Understatement of the year. It's a very long, complicated process. It's like, I always explain, like, domestic and intimate partner violence is like, a lot of wires get tangled. And a lot of feelings get tangled, and things get very complicated very, very quickly, because relationships already are so complicated, romantic relationships and relationships in general, you know, and, you know, maybe you don't leave because of fear. Maybe you don't leave because you don't even see there's a problem. Maybe you don't leave because financially you're not on your feet. Maybe you don't leave because, like, you do love that person. Not everything's all bad all the time. And so there's reasons. I always say that, like, I was in love with him. He was my person.
Sometimes it's the highest highs and then the lowest lows.
All the time. literally all the time. So it's this mind fuck, for lack
Yeah.
of a better term, because you're like, how did this person do this to me last night? But then I've also had this like beautiful moment and connection, and sometimes they're super there for me, but then sometimes I'm fearing for my life when I'm in the same room as like
You were up to that point, like actually fearing for your life.
oh my God, like towards the end of
Yeah.
it, like my family was like shaking me, and they were like, you're gonna be one of the girls on the local news, like you're not gonna make it out of this.
It was
yeah
I didn't know to the intensity.
I
you had it.
had to call the cops on him all the time. Not that I love cops, well, whatever, I don't always trust them either, but like I had to like,
But it helped.
It helped in the moment. I didn't know what to do. I was living by myself in New York, and when my boyfriend
Okay.
was on a cocaine abusive tirade across my apartment, I was like,
that's gonna alter, like,
Right.
change him completely.
completely. So, it's all of that stuff, and it's very complicated to leave. And I think the main reason why women or people stay longer than they should, you don't really have the strength to leave when you have someone breaking you down all the time.
Right.
Like, people you know what I mean? Like, it's like, why did you stay? And you're like, well, like, even if I knew there was a problem, like, I couldn't believe I was in it. I was feeling shame. I was losing friends and family who were aware of what was happening.
Yeah.
Obviously, my performance at work was affected. I didn't have work to turn to. Obviously, I was drained and hurt all the time, so I wasn't doing comedy. I didn't have that to turn to. You want to say this like, I'm a boss bitch and I'm going to leave him and whatever, but like,
it's
you're not
hard
really
when you-
feeling boss bitch when your
Right.
boyfriend's telling you that you suck and you're a dumb bitch, and then he gets drunk and hit. Like, it's just true. Like, it's like,
Right.
and you're just like, oh, okay. Like, and you can't believe you're in it. That's what I'm saying. It's a web. It's like such a complicated.
It's hard to get out of. You're already too deep in the hole.
It's so hard to get out of. And like, I can't even tell you how common it is. And I know it because
Yeah.
I try to talk about it as much as I can in my stand-up. And like 9 times out of 10, there's a girl that comes up to me afterwards and is like,
That's so
I
sad.
needed to hear that. This shit needs to be talked about. It just needs, because there's so many misconceptions, and that just keeps people quiet when they're
And
trapped.
shame.
And shame and embarrassment and
You start thinking it's your fault, but like you
Yeah.
shouldn't be shameful of it. But so
Yeah.
how did you get out?
I think everybody leaves and makes decisions when they arrive at it. I think with everything.
That's an interesting way of looking at things. Like, you know what you want from the beginning, but you just kind of stay too long, or
Sure. You have to do stuff on your own
feel like you
timetable.
always know.
You always know. You always know, and like, it has to be your idea. I think we all feel that way. We want to feel like as if we had control over our free will and our life and stuff. So at some point I started seeing that like whatever pros there were, the cons were way worse. And it was kind of that. Like, it was like one more weekend, one more really bad fight, one more really scary night. I was exhausted. I was drained. I had already known this was
coming.
I went to go visit him. I couldn't tell anybody in my life because they would have been like, are you out of your mind? What? Like, I thought you guys were broken up. No, and I told my cousin and his wife at the time, because I'm really close to my cousin. And I said, I feel like I should tell somebody that I'm going to Salt Lake City. That's where he lived at that time.
Okay.
That I'm going to visit him. I'm like, just in case I die. And I was like saying it as a joke. It's like, somebody should probably know that I'm here.
Yeah.
And they were like,
It's like half joke, half not.
half
though.
joke, half not.
Right.
Right. Like, I was like using humor to like, I was like, feel like I gotta tell somebody, don't tell my mom. And then they couldn't get in touch with me at one point during the weekend, and my cousin started like freaking out, and they were blowing up my phone. I'm like, I'm sorry, I just wasn't looking. And they were like, we knew you were with him. We thought,
Right.
she's not answering because she's dead, like, or something's going on. And and then it was one more fight, and it was like a light switch. It was a light switch and long time coming. I was just like,
But he didn't try to stop you, or
he didn't know. I snuck out. I literally changed my flight. I was like a refugee.
oh,
Like, left.
damn, yeah.
I just was quiet. I knew. I arrived at it. I was ready. It was clear. Changed my flight. Escaped basically silently.
Wow.
Went back to New York. Got a restraining order. Started putting everything together.
It's good that you guys lived in separate cities.
Yeah, that was a blessing in disguise. Yeah, because he was in New York at one point. We
Right,
were
I thought
living
he was
together.
still in New York, and I was like, that's when I thought, I'm like, how did you leave that? Because it would have, I feel like he would have forced you to stay.
100%.
But
yeah.
him being somewhere else, that's good. And then he didn't try to like get you back or do anything after?
He did, and that's how we got like arrested. Like, he had no idea that I had all these things behind the scenes, that I was like actually leaving this time.
Well, I'm glad that you got out of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And then now
Yeah.
you're able to help other women. So how is it that now you use that in comedy?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that you've kind of like used it in some of your jokes. So how do you do it in a way that you're still bringing awareness,
Mm-hmm.
but not disrespecting it? You know, like still magnifying on the importance of it, but making it a little funny.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate
still being like, making you think twice about it.
Thank you. That's the best compliment ever. Thank you. Because I really strive for that with my comedy. It's really easy to make, and that stuff's fun. It's easy to make jokes about like Tinder and dicks and
But
makeup.
sometimes we gotta go deep.
You gotta go deep.
Yeah.
But I love comedy that says something and like is really, you could tell that comedian has unearthed something in themselves that's brought them to talk about this. I love that. Like, I really do. So thank you. When a comedian makes a joke about something, and this is so funny to me when people get like offended, like, you shouldn't joke about that. I'm like, if I'm making a joke about something, it's important. It carries a weight to it. I'm not making fun of it. I feel it's important to talk about it, and obviously my job is to talk about it through a lens of humor. So for me, like I've had women be like, you shouldn't say those things on stage, you shouldn't talk about your abortions on stage, you shouldn't whatever. And I'm like, first off, don't tell me what I should or should not talk about at all. Free speech, literally. Number two, like I went through that. It's important to me to talk about it. I'm not making fun of it. And then in comedy too, there's this thing called punching up, which is like making sure your punchlines and what you're saying have come from a good place. That's it. It's and that's all, finding your voice and your tone, and you know, like you could talk about, I've heard guys talk about domestic violence on stage and their punchline is how like, I just wanted to punch her in the mouth. And that to me is like that's like in poor taste. Yeah. That's whatever.
Because that's actually them committing the violence.
Correct. Like,
there's nothing funny about that.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, hitting women, hilarious. You want to hit a woman, amazing. Like, you know, kind of thing. And like, and then there's a like I even joke about my ex. Like, I'm like, you know, I was with him for 3 years, but I'm out and I'm pursuing my dreams, and people usually clap, and then I'll find a moment to be like, he's dead now though. Like, you know, like just like, and they're always like, and I'm like, no,
just dead to you.
Yeah, just dead to me. And like, I'll like follow it up. I'll be like dead, well, metaphorically to me or something. Yeah, right. Like, so it's just a different, but again, I think that comes from like everything. Like if you're doing things from a genuine space and it happened to you and your heart's in the right place, it's going to translate, and an audience will know when it's not.
And how do you go about, well, have you ever been booed on stage, first of all?
Yeah.
How do you go about that? Like, I can't imagine being on stage and getting booed, and I'm like, oh my God, that's just the worst.
Sorry. Yeah, it is. It's a lot.
I don't know how I would deal with that.
This is like the wildest art form, and I really think I'm like,
I feel like it's the hardest. You're really putting yourself out there.
I'm biased, but it's the hardest. It's very hard. As somebody who spent the better part of her life performing and doing comedy, stand-up still terrifies me even just a little bit every time.
Yeah, you're going on stage and exposing yourself to get made fun of, to get ridiculed, or to be, you know, for people to think you're funny, but it can go either way.
It can go either way. There's so many factors in there. I have been booed. I have luckily not been booed because my performance was bad or something like embarrassing happened. Anytime I've been booed or had like a negative, crowd reaction has been because of like, I'm saying something that someone in the crowd who's pretty close-minded doesn't want to hear or got offended by. And that's how I know. There is some point at this journey when you like, I'm even there now, 3 years into stand-up, I'm like throwing away a lot of my old jokes. Like I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, fuck that material. It's not even funny. It's not even true to me anymore.
But that's with every art form, you know?
Yeah.
You look back and you're like, ugh, cringe.
Cringe, yeah. I'm like, that's not
I feel
even
the same
funny.
way too
That's so
sometimes.
hack. I don't like that anymore, whatever. And you do start to, I don't think you should try to purposely antagonize an audience, but when you're getting those reactions, I think it's a sign that as a comedian, you're on the pulse. You're on to something.
Okay.
Like, your material's getting a little more truthful. You're taking you're taking risks. I
never saw it that
edgy.
way.
I hate the word edgy for that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, anytime I've been booed because of my material, it's always over a joke that I'm like, I'm always like, yeah? Why does that make you uncomfortable? Yeah? Like,
I just feel like it's gonna open other doors and you can just go really into it and make them even more uncomfortable.
Oh, totally. I have a joke about Jesus being a fuckboy. I think it's so stupid. It's so silly. And like, this woman was like, I talk about it in my act now. She's like, you can't talk about Jesus dying. And I was like, I didn't make that up.
Wait, so why do you think Jesus is a fuckboy? I want to know.
I'm just saying, if you look at Easter, he disappears on a weekend and then comes back 3 days later and you're just like all good and you worship him. Like, that's toxic. A producer's nodding. Like, it's like, you better
He left on the weekend.
He left on the weekend. I always pause. I'm like, on a weekend, ladies.
Why not on a Monday?
Correct. He's got another bitch. He left town to go be with his girlfriend, Mary Magdalene. No, I'm kidding. It's so, I think it's so silly.
Yeah.
And this woman was like, no. And like one guy was like, one time, one guy's like, fuck you. And I was like, yeah, that offends you? He's like, you shouldn't be talking about this, like, from a religious perspective. And when he said, fuck you, I was like, oh, yeah, love thy neighbor. Fuck me. Yeah, totally. Like, yeah.
They get really, like, intense and aggressive.
Yeah, audiences are insane.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to get that offended, just don't go to a comedy show because it's a comedy show.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a show without, like, you getting roasted somehow and people, you know, bringing up topics that are going to offend people.
You know, there are a lot of comedians that have material like that, and it's just chill and
It's very
entertaining. PG, and it's fine. And I just think people don't know what they're signing up for. They think they're comedy fans.
Especially if you sit in the front.
Especially if you sit in the front.
Don't go to the front.
Don't sit in the front. I just had this happen weeks ago. Don't sit in the front and be drunk and interrupt me, because then I am going to handle you. And then don't be like, you're mean. I'm like, no, you're interrupting a show.
My show.
My show. Shut up. Like, it's so, it also just goes to show you, like, comedy's such a mirror to society. I always say, like, it's the quickest way to learn a city, learn a person, whatever. And it goes to show you that so many people only want to live life with the things and the people and the ideologies that are comfortable to them. Like, we're all more closed-minded than we think. Yeah. And I think you see that at comedy shows when people get uncomfortable or offended or they make a thing. And I'm like, oh, did you just expect to see a comedy show where, oh, well, I love comedy. I love it so much. I love laughing. But only if you're talking about things that are in the confines of a box that makes me feel good, that I agree with. And it's like, this isn't the art form for that.
First of all, how do you build the confidence to be on stage? And then second of all, when you're there, do you ever feel awkward, or maybe in the beginning, going after someone? Or like roasting someone? Did it ever make you feel uncomfortable?
No, it came really naturally to me. Yeah, it did. Well,
I never felt like, oh shit, they're gonna get mad, or
no. I love crowd work, and I love, maybe it's because of my Italian upbringing, that like
with that.
But you know, like ball busting came naturally to me. Talking to people came naturally to me. So I never really felt uncomfortable with that. As far as confidence goes, that just comes over time, and you know, you're gonna have a lot of days too where you have to fake it till you make it. That's the weird thing about this being a job. You're like, God, I don't feel funny, or I'm not in the mood, but here we are doing it. That's what we gotta do. I think you reach a point where what you're saying is so important to you and has had such a profound impact on you that, like, whatever nerves you have are bullshit, you're able to kind of push it away, because you're like, I really believe in what I'm saying, and I think this stuff is funny and important to talk about. And so then everything else becomes, even if you're not in the mood to do it, you're always in the mood to talk about the things that are true to you.
Right.
You know, so if you're bombing on stage or you're not feeling it, I'm always like, just go and talk about the thing that's on your mind right now.
How do you constantly come up with new jokes?
Once you start doing this, you just start framing everything through a joke in your head.
Really?
Yeah, you just, it's a weird, I think comedians just look at the world differently, and we see things for what they are, and we're always finding a way to make fun of and poke at things and stuff like that. And once you start doing it professionally, this is my job, is to like live life and experience and observe things and question things and stuff, and then bring it to the stage and talk about it, you know? So I kind of make, not everything a bit, but I don't know, I do it so much now that if something...
It just comes naturally to you.
If something crazy happens to me, I'm going to talk about it on stage, because I do it so often. So
right. I mean, it's just your talent and your skill, because I feel like, not, you know, as someone who doesn't know about it, doesn't do it, that I would run out of jokes. Like, I can only come up with so many jokes every day.
Yeah, totally.
But you're constantly, like, you know, somehow thinking about new ones.
Yeah, I think it just becomes, as you find your comedic voice, it's on all the time.
And by now, I'm sure you probably know your crowd a little bit, right? So when you're writing your jokes, do you feel that you already know what's going to hit or what's going to miss?
Kind of, yeah. It's, I mean, you always prefer to perform for your fans, because they're your fans for a reason, and they know what they've signed up for, and it's great. And then when it comes to just hopping on other comedy shows or opening for people, I think writing a lot and always coming up with jokes comes in handy, because then you're going to start to have something for every scenario. Okay. In every kind of person, and every kind of, and you can read a room. That's why they always say comedians read a room, so you can kind of go in and be like, I can already tell what's going to work in here. They're not going to get that reference. I shouldn't. But there's also something to be said about, like, be yourself. I love that too. Like, I'm very liberal. I don't feel like a lot of parts of Miami are, you know, and I talk about things that I know when I'm in like a Westchester or a Kendall or a Doral. It
depends.
Depends. They don't really love hearing about abortion or the vaccine or COVID or domestic violence.
Very conservative areas.
A little more conservative. And yes, there's an aspect of reading a room, but also, like, be you. Like, you're making a job as a comedian out of being yourself. Like, literally. You're not an actor who's playing someone else. That's amazing. I act. Hire me. But you're a comedian. You're making a job. Your job is to be you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so the closer you can get comfortable with that, the better you're going to be as a comedian.
And then when you're on stage, do you drink or do you do anything to loosen up a bit?
I'll have a drink before I go on.
Drink.
Drink.
Is it the full drink?
Yeah, a couple sips, maybe
Okay.
a drink. Depends on the stakes of the show. Like if it's if I'm at the Improv or something, no, and or if I'm opening for someone, no, and stuff. But just because like anything can happen,
Yeah.
and then that plus adrenaline, plus nerves, plus whatever. Like you just want to be in a good
mental state. Yeah.
in case some crazy shit goes down. So yeah.
Which it can. It's just that I've seen some comedians that I'm like, they are laughing at themselves way too much.
Oh, girl.
They're all over the place and they look like they're either drunk or on probably something else.
And I've seen it a lot with Miami comedians too,
Yeah.
and it makes me really sad because I'm like, guys, like so many of us are busting our ass to put this scene on the map. Like, fucking be better. That's the thing. There's no playbook for
Right.
the entertainment industry. There's no like, if you do XYZ, you'll graduate with I'm a comedian degree, and then boom, you're famous. No,
Yeah, exactly. And that's with a lot of art forms because that's exactly how I feel too. Like there's no set path. You have to create your own path with things like this. So it makes it a little bit harder, but that much more rewarding too once you do make it. Speaking about,
I want to just touch on that because I feel like you're like this too. Like, it's so hard making your own path. And I feel like I've been this kind of person. I mean, you're doing it. Like, you're making your own series. You're creating your own platform.
Yeah.
And it is so much harder. But I feel like my entire life has been defined. I've always been off the beaten path.
off the beaten path.
Nah, I'm good. I'm doing it my way. I don't want to do it your way. I'm going to do it my way. Even if it takes me 10 more years. I'm going to, like, I've always been like that.
Yeah,
and
same.
You know, and you're doing it. Like, your show is doing that. You could just, you know, be working for, which is fine, another network, but you're choosing to, like, no, I want control. I want to do it my
Right.
way. And I feel like we shouldn't underestimate that's hard. It takes a lot longer. I think it's worth it in the end, but it's hard.
It does when you don't have like a network backing you up at the moment.
Yeah.
Or, you know, something like that. But you learn the ins and out of the business. And I don't know, I just like it a lot more.
Yeah. And there's a lot of freedom to that too. Like, it's just like, you know, when you make something that's your own, nobody can take it from you. Ever. Or tell you what to do with it.
Exactly.
Or tell you you're doing it wrong. And then when you do win big, that feeling is so worth it. Because you're like, every step of the way, this was mine. And now it's wholly mine. And then if you fail, you're like, every step of the way where I fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm the only person who has to deal with it.
But it's your baby. Like you built it from scratch, everything.
Right.
I know that you also perform a lot in New York.
Yeah.
And you, like you said, you did live in New York. So what's the difference between the New York crowd and the Miami crowd?
Tough for different reasons. Miami is tough for attention span. You know, there's this gotta go to the party, gotta go to 11, gotta, like, I don't really want to think too much. And I have a joke in my act that, like, any joke will work in Miami if you say, like, empanada, brickle, or Bad Bunny. Like, people are just like, oh, okay, what? Yeah, or you say cocaine, or you say mojito, or they're like, oh, okay, I'm with it.
Anything that resonates with them.
Anything that's I-95, Palmetto, they're like, oh, yeah, Bright Line, like, whatever. Like, they're like, oh, that's... And in New York, just because it's a little bit of an older city, you know, they're... I don't want to say open-minded, but listen, when something doesn't work in New York, it's very tough to impress a New York audience, but they'll pay attention and they'll be respectful.
Really?
You'll bomb. Like, if they don't like the joke, they won't laugh. And then you'll just, but they're listening. They're paying attention. They're not on their phone. They're less likely to be an asshole. And you're at least like, okay, that's fine. At least if you didn't laugh at the joke, that's all good. Now I just need to know I need to work on it or not use it anymore.
Who's your favorite comedian?
In general, I mean, I love Joan Rivers. You know, rest in power, that queen. But like, you know, she was so... I said it. Don't tell me to be clean. I said it. Deal with it. Unapologetic.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. In comedy and with like your career so far, what sacrifices have you had to make, like relationship-wise, family, social life?
Yeah.
You know? Because you're at this every day, so I know something's got to give.
Everything goes, just about. I mean, you will be... I have no car. I live in Kendall with my parents. I've made financial sacrifices. I've missed weddings and bridal parties. I've had friends be pissed at me because of that. I missed family events. I missed important moments with family. My physical health has gone down. My mental health has suffered when I had, you know, everything.
Do you feel like you've lost friends because of this?
Maybe not lost, but relationships change. And
not as close.
Not as close. And it's so cliche when they're like, not everybody gets it when you're pursuing this, but I have seen that happen in the last few years. Like, people don't get it sometimes, or they think they do and they don't. And you just have to, it almost kind of inspires you to work harder because you're like, just trust me, I know, I believe in it's going to pay off on the other side. And when those big things come in, you're going to be like, oh, that's why you missed that holiday, or or, oh, that's why it was so hard to get in touch with you for
Right.
months or something. And
Do you ever feel lonely?
yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. It's a lonely process being a comedian too. It's just very, you're in your head a lot. I think the best comedians are in their head a lot, and we think too much. I don't think you have to be depressed to be a comedian. Chris Rock had said that too. I don't think you need to
Yeah, because a lot of
suffer.
people say that, you know?
Nah,
It's like the more you suffer, the funnier you are.
Yeah, like I don't have daddy issues. Like I love my mom and dad, and they're like really supportive of my
Yeah,
comedy. They
they're
come
great.
to my shows.
And also back to like the sacrifices that you've made during this, you know, like these 3 years of you as a stand-up comedian. I'm sure you haven't had a boyfriend, or have you
I've
dated?
been single for 5 years. What's up? Yeah.
Single.
Single. And honestly, I don't want it. Whatever it is, keep it to yourself. I don't want it. I'm like so over it. Yeah.
So over it. So you haven't had a relationship since your bad one.
Yeah, like a committed.
A real one.
Yeah.
But you know, you're working
No
a lot.
pressure on the next guy.
No pressure.
It's also like both like the easiest shoes to fill for the next boyfriend.
True.
But also
Low
like,
standards before.
God bless you. I'm a rescue dog. Like I am full of like triggers, trauma, trust issues, and I'm in therapy too. What? Like, but like, God bless the man. He's gonna have to be real strong and secure and patient.
But you've evolved these past few years.
Thanks for saying that because I'm working on that in therapy too and like really detaching from.
How long have you been doing therapy for?
I just got back into it. I took a break for a little bit. I love therapy.
Yeah.
I come from Italian immigrant parents
Okay.
that don't understand why I'm in therapy. And I'm like, it's because of you two. That's why I'm in therapy. No shade. It's mom, you're the reason. Like,
But it's
just
because
like,
of you.
It's because of you. Yeah.
It's usually the people who don't understand why you're in therapy that it's because of them.
It's because of you. Yeah, totally. And I've been working on separating from that. I don't think I've considered myself a victim of it, but like, I appreciate that you said that because it's also like, okay, I am 5 years out. I'm more healed than I think.
For sure.
You know, and yes, like, I do think the next guy that I really get attached to or feel things for, it probably is going to be scary. That's scary in general.
Scary. I mean, it's something new, but you're just so different now too. Like probably without even noticing because of the therapy, the time that has passed, and like this, like your grind, your hustle alone goes changing you because you start seeing where your priorities lie.
100%. Yeah, it's yeah, I wish I could. I mean, I do think like the full pursuit of comedy is probably interrupted. I also moved. Like COVID brought me back down from New York. I moved. I'm in with my parents. I'm balls to the wall with comedy.
Yeah.
Yes, I had a rough relationship history. I'm also a millennial woman in America, so like there's a lot of factors that I think are contributing to why I've been single for so long. But yeah, I just don't want anything to
take away from it right now.
Right now, it's got to add peace. It's so
For sure.
I also don't have time for that in the middle stuff.
You know, it's funny that you're saying all of this now because who knows, you could be manifesting a boyfriend, and by the time this comes out, you might be talking to someone new. You never know.
And I'm going to tell you right now. To
You
said
never
boyfriend,
know.
Where's my camera? To future boyfriend that I'm manifesting right now. Hi. Hi. Oh my God, when you pointed, I just saw him already. He's got deep brown eyes.
Is he hot?
He's pretty hot. Yeah.
Okay,
He's got, I mean, he could go to the gym a little more, but it's okay. To said boyfriend, future boyfriend, you better know what you want and add peace and also have a big dick, but whatever. That's not as important, but it is also important. Okay.
It is.
Like if you're going to come in, you can come in. I'm manifesting you right now, but like, don't, the second it's any kind of anything, any kind of, he doesn't know what he wants or you're out. Like, I really am at a point where I'm like, I want to be in a relationship. I would like to be in a relationship and have a person to experience these things with and grow with, and also get a chance to like love again in a healthy, great way. Almost 32 and I don't want it. I don't want to be in something with somebody for 7 months that it's like, I guess we're together, but I don't know.
But I don't really know.
Me his girlfriend.
Modern Miami love.
Modern Miami love anywhere. Not even just Miami. I think anywhere too.
Yeah?
Like, yeah, even in New York, they were like that too. And it was like, I don't know what I want. And sometimes he's here, but then he's like Jesus fuck boy and he's gone on a weekend, but then he's back. Like that gray area.
We don't do that.
No, like I'd rather either end of the spectrum, stay single and unbothered, unencumbered, or I'm very open to a relationship, but it's got to click and work immediately. Like
You'll see these 5
No
years
bullshit.
of taking a break.
if I'm in it and I'm like, oh, I would obviously never settle with him, then I shouldn't even be in it at all.
Yeah, we're not at the age for that, you know. But
yeah, that was 24. This is 32. Like
this is 32.
This is 32.
It's different now.
32 is so underwhelming. It's like, this is 32. What's 32? You're like, just 2 years after 30. I don't know.
Yeah, there's nothing really fun about that. But
but
like we don't want to rush to the 40s, so.
No, but I hear 40s are like amazing. Everybody's like 40s are where it's at.
And then once you're 48, you're gonna hear the same thing about the 50s and like that. You know, it's always like.
I think we all start thriving in our 80s when we can just openly shit our pants. That's when I think everyone is like killing it. Like that's
killing it, and it doesn't even matter.
Life is the best when you are at an age where society allows you to shit your pants in public, i.e., you're either really old or you're
be
a
okay
baby,
with it.
And be okay with it. It's fine. It's acceptable. That's when you're free. I believe that.
In addition to shitting your pants.
Hard pivot to come from. Yeah.
Hard pivot to come from. So I'm just gonna like throw it out there.
Do it. Yeah.
You are an actress and then an executive producer. So you currently have a web series.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that and your acting and then like what you're producing, like, you know, all these future projects that you have going on, because, you know, you do more than comedy. So.
I do. Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, future guy.
I'm tired. Somebody hire me. No, okay. I have a web series, The Disastrous Dating Life of Diane Damone. It's great. I'm really proud of it. It's a comedic web series. I'm Diane. I was really involved in it. It's on Roku and Tubi, Amazon Prime, IMDb
Oh, I
TV.
have to watch it.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's funny. They're quick episodes.
Amazon
Very
Prime.
funny. I feel like that set me up for what I'm working on now because I got a little bit of producer experience with that because I was really involved in it, getting picked up and building it and casting it. And now I had this idea about a year ago now to produce or try to make a documentary about Miami and Miami comedy. You know, because I think I've seen it I grew up here, so I'm comfortable in Miami. I'm a native, but I did leave and do New York and come back during the pandemic. So these last 2 to 3 years have kind of been looking at home with new eyes, like familiar and novel all at the same time. And I've kind of come back to a Miami that's like definitely not the Miami I grew up in, definitely not the Miami comedy scene, even just X amount of years ago and stuff. So I think there's a lot of people doing a lot of important work here and there's a lot of talent. Miami is a city so different than everything else. So had this idea at the top of the year, you know, kind of stewed on it a little bit and then started working with a production company, Digital Bodega in New York, had a relationship with them.
How did you find them or how did they find you? Like, how did that all happen?
A good friend of mine that I worked with on set in New York years ago, she and I stayed in touch and, you know, kind of made that relationship there. And I brought it to her. She's like, yeah, I'm super down. This sounds interesting. People are curious about Miami and Miami comedy and stuff like that. And they're amazing. They're all in. They're really passionate about it. They were like, yeah, we want to help you make this. And we just wrapped week 1 of a shoot. It is a documentary, so it's exciting. It's like very brand new to be in this space behind the camera and tell a story. And I'm interested in seeing how it's going to impact me as a storyteller on stage and, you know, impact Miami comedy. I think industry should be paying more attention to us here. And
so that and then the acting too.
Yeah, I act every now and again.
Every now and then.
Stand-up takes up all my time. But I act. I love to act.
Where do you see yourself in a few years? Like, what's your main goal with everything you're doing? Do you want to, like, sell out stadiums? Do you want to be a big-time actress or producer? Like, what is your thing?
Oh, man.
Or just a little bit of everything, which is cool, too, you know?
A little bit of everything, for sure.
Okay.
I will always do stand-up. It's so ingrained in me. It's my favorite thing in the world. So I definitely want to keep singing. Stand-up is the anchor. It's out of all the things. Like, not even other forms of comedy, like sketch and improv. Like, stand-up is my nucleus. It's like, that's what I am. And everything comes from that. You know, it's funny. You start this and you have, like, a very specific list of what your career goals are. Oh, Netflix special. Oh, this. Oh, that. Oh, that. And I honestly, when you say like 5 years, I'm like, on a personal level, I want to be more financially, that's all I ask for is that like I can live comfortably through doing what I want. You know, that's, I think, baseline. Then also in 5 years, like I want to grow my audience. I just really want to be a leader in the entertainment industry and show that women can be at the top and can be easy to, like, not that women aren't easy to work with, but like you can be a leader and be easy to work with and you can have a social responsibility to what you do and you can take women under your wing and you can be selfless. Like, yes, okay, I'm a hilarious comedian. Great, we have that. But like now that everyone's established that, I'm going to go make other things. A big picture. So yeah, I would love to be known for being really great at my craft. And I want a large audience to inspire people. Like it's like so cheesy, but it's like I really do want fame and I want to do something
something with
good
it
with it. And
You're getting there. I forgot.
Yeah.
OnlyFans. You have an OnlyFans account. Girl.
How about that?
How about that?
And it's free to subscribe. Link in my bio now.
So tell us about that.
I stan the OnlyFans, and I think if you dog it, you're lame and whack. I am an OnlyFans stan. I taped a comedy special with them, so they have a streaming platform, OnlyFans TV.
Okay.
It's like a Roku, Tubi kind of thing, and they're producing a lot of original content, like with musicians and comedians. They're doing comedy specials, so they do it in like LA, Vegas, Chicago, New York, and Miami, and I'm super honored that I was one of the first people they hit up, the producers, to tape the first round in Miami. It was amazing, and they kind of, I started the OnlyFans after. I have been kicking around the idea of an OnlyFans.
Right.
For, a lot of reasons. Like monetization, it's a very safe place for any kind of content. As we know, you could do a lot of things on OnlyFans.
A lot of things.
Whatever it is you want, but not my OnlyFans, so stop asking. Because I announced it, and so many guys were like, where are the nudes? Fucking, are you ever going to do? And I'm like, no, if that's what you're here for.
You have some thirst traps, but they're like very tasteful.
Yeah. And it's like, honestly, really empowering to like, yes, I put comedy on there and live streams, and there is a like connection with your fans on there that I don't think you have on any other social platform.
Right.
Like everyone's very responsive and supportive monetarily or not. And to be honest, it feels very on brand for me and what I do with catcall and my comedy to like feel sexy and make money off my look. Make it does. It's empowering. It's awesome to break that. Also,
if you have it, leverage it.
Leverage it.
Why not?
Yeah, it's like I've been putting thirst traps in my ass on South Beach up on Instagram for free, making $0, or I can
might as well make it money.
Make your money, and it's interesting to use your sexuality in a really positive, freeing way.
Do you feel that in comedy, with your male counterparts? Mm-hmm. Like that maybe, I don't know, there's a double standard or they get a different attention treatment?
Boys can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
We still are living in that. And I mean, we are in an amazing time to be women in comedy. The amount of women doing comedy in Miami has tripled from even when I started doing it down here. It's an amazing time. I think people are starting to learn women are funny, shocker, and deserve.
No
way.
Crazy. Who knew we're funny?
It's so crazy. Like, you sound like such a narc when you are like, I didn't know women are funny, but you, I'm like, you sound stupid, dude.
Yeah.
Like, dumb.
Can't believe people tell you that.
The boys can do whatever they want. I think it's in comedy and beyond. Like, it's just, we are just held to a different standard. We're not allowed to have a bad day, be in a bad mood, bomb. Society wants to sexualize us and measure our value by how big our tits are and how good we look and whatever. And then when we put that on the market on something like OnlyFans and monetize it, we're whores. And it's wrong. So it's like, I don't even think people realize how much they're criticizing it. The boys can be dirty. And then I've had people be like, your comedy's too dirty.
Then you have the boys saying it and it's like.
But the boys can say it.
Right.
Okay.
And then there goes your joke.
Right. All the time. And I don't think you need to be, I like higher brow comedy sometimes too. But I think there is something to be said about female comedians that just say shit.
Yeah.
I think it is a little needed. I think that's what Joan Rivers set the tone for. She was filthy. She was loud. She was brash. She roasted everybody, mostly herself. She got in trouble all the time. She cursed. She was a lot, and I do think the girls need to do that. The girls have to, to get people to pay attention.
Take that risk.
Yeah. Maybe not over the top, but take that risk,
No, but little by little, what you're doing.
Yeah. I think my comedy is a lot of whatever people think they're going to get, they don't. Then I get up there and I say all these things and I talk about what I've been through and I curse or I'm dirty or I'm roasting people or saying it and they're like, I never expected that out of you. So I love that comedy's maybe don't judge people by how they look.
Right. But, I think you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
You're working really hard. You have many great things. Thank you.
Yeah. Somebody who's telling important Miami stories and leading and building something. A city things don't go anywhere unless people build. You can't just rest on it. We need more people that are I'm starting my own thing.
Yeah.
Another thing to talk to people, another platform. So yeah, likewise.
Thank you. Yeah, I really want to, put people on the map and bring awareness to all the cool things that people are doing in Miami. So
yeah, love it.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join me here. I know you have a show later today as well. So
oh yeah, I have to go to Broward.
So thank you so much. This was great. I really enjoyed it. and tell everyone where they can find you.
Oh my gosh. Well, first things first, on my OnlyFans, I direct everybody there. Truly, you can subscribe for free and see my nipples. No, don't stop. You won't see that ever. Ever. My Catholic mom will kill me. Instagram, Brittany Brave, Britt Brave on Twitter, Brittany Brave Comedy on TikTok, Brittany Brave everywhere.
Looks like it's Brittany Brave.
Brittany Brave. It's like one word. Brittany Brave.
Brittany Brave.
In high school, everybody said that. Brittany Brave. Brittany Brave. Brittany
Double
Brave.
B's.
Brittany Brave. And it is my real last name. It's so American and cheesy, but it's true.
It's a good stage name too.
Yeah, I was born with a stage name. It's very true. I feel like I naturally have a triumphant story in stand-up. Like, you're so brave to be doing this. I'm like, am I? Or
And it's my name.
Am I brave or am I insane? Which one is it? No, but yeah, Brittany Brave. Hi, come say hi to the show. Yay.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yay. Awesome.